How's it going, YouTube? Coming to you today with another video, and today, as of the bring to you, is going to be the Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta tier list, and I'm very excited for this. I did record it last night, but my audio wasn't on, so you already know how that goes. That sucks. So I really want to make this video because I feel like so many different things have changed this format, and there's going to be a lot of things that I say in this video that might be a bit unhinged about some decks, but what isn't with my videos to a lot of people, you know, it's fine. And, you know, that's one thing where I really do take a different look at a format, and I'm going to tell you straight up how I feel about some of these decks and how I don't. So that's one thing that, you know, take it with a grain of salt. We have no data on the format yet. The format just got nuked. So it's definitely going to be very interesting going forward. But I definitely have a really solid idea of where I see each of these decks lying into the tier list. So I definitely hope that you are ready for quite the video. But to start things off, we're talking about Yubel. I really don't like Yubel, but I mean, it's gonna be like probably bottom or like near bottom of tier 2, just because like this is the deck out of all decks that probably loses the hardest to any Mulch army, and that's really unfortunate when most decks right now are playing 9. Like, even the YCS winner, it was like 3 Fuwa in the main deck and then 6 in the side, right? So, like, they're playing all 9 Mulch armies, and this deck definitely loses the hardest to them. So, definitely unfortunate. If the deck can go off, the deck can put up a pretty crazy board. But the whole thing is, can it go off? And we'll have to wait and see. They did get back to Sharvara, which is cool, but I do hate Sharvara as a card. And I want to address a comment on my last video that I got like 5 times, where I said that I hate cards that dodge, and I'm upset about Crossout going to 1. Completely different scenario. Crossout is a card that is just negating an effect. Sharvara is popping something as it's dodging, which will trigger it to summon another body. Then you get the body off Sharvara, and then when Sharvara goes to the grave, you get a trap that you can use for interruption, recursion, or you can pop it to get another body. I think this card is objectively more obnoxious than a Crossout, and I think that's a completely different scenario. And I'm probably never going to come off that opinion because I hate Sharvara as a card, but that's just me. But, I mean, that's just where we're at. Next up here is Mathmech. We already know what Mathmech does. We have a really good idea, but let me tell you, I'm going to just keep repeating this throughout the entire video. 1 Shifter, 1 Druid's Worm, no Dweller. This deck is definitely going to be like a mid-tier 2 deck. We already saw it be really obnoxious before, and now we have Malice cards that can go with it. We have it by itself. The deck is going to be a deck that you will find at events. It will be there 100%. So make sure that you are prepared for that. We don't have Link Decoder anymore, but that never truly mattered with this deck. I think that'll be fine. But Unchained, this is going to be a deck that is going to be like near top of tier 2. It is definitely going to be a very strong deck right now, again, to Sharvara. The deck itself does play really well in the most scenarios, even into Rizio, because, you know, you don't really care about your cards getting popped. But the other thing, too, is that, like, Fuwa does hurt this, but what doesn't it hurt, you know? So that's another thing where I'm just like, listen, this deck is going to be solid. It will have consistency issues. It always has. But, you know, if a player like Aditya, shout out to him, he's, like, the best Unchained user I've ever seen in my life. But if this deck goes into the right pilot's hands, it's going to be phenomenal, right? So that's one thing where we definitely can see this deck come back into play. Where it will go in the tier list later on, I don't know. It might go up, but the deck is going to be very scary moving forward. Now, you remember that unhinged take that I was talking about? I'm going to put this in don't. The deck has, like, little to no results. White Forest is absolute trash. This deck is not good. Do not play this deck. You can play it for fun. It is not a very good deck. I do not like any of the cards in this deck. I don't think it's very consistent. There are many, 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 many decks that I would play before White Forest. It's not very good. I know I'm going to get 1,000 hate comments in the comment section. That's fine, but I do not even care about this deck at all. If I see it, I'm like, free. Like, that's cool. But the deck is just a don't play it. Odeon Fiend Smith. I definitely think this deck is going to be crazy. 1.5 for sure. The deck itself already has a lot of results. Opening weekend, it was topping multiple events. Next weekend, it was topping multiple events. The third weekend, it was topping multiple events. Definitely seeing a lot of representation. Now, the other thing that I will bring up in every video that I make when it comes to a tier list. Let me define what a meta is. And a meta does not mean that it is the best deck in a format, meta simply means that it has a higher representation than others. So if you look at something and you go, but that's not meta, or like, that's not that great, if it has a higher representation, it's meta. Like, it just is what it is. If they banned all the best decks and we had like Trickstar, Ogdoatic, and Alien, and they were played by everyone in the room, they'd all be meta. Doesn't matter if it's good or not. Meta is just the amount of people who are playing a deck and how popular it is. The next one up is going to be Tearlaments. 1 shifter, 1 Druid Swarm, $0. This is going to be a bottom to mid tier, tier 2 deck. I really do like this choice right now. We do have the Bahamut hit, which sucks, but the endless possibilities with this deck are definitely going to be interesting to look into. The deck did top at Nationals without Bahamut in the deck as well. Focused more on like the window package, so I could definitely see the deck performing even better. I didn't really care for the Fiend Smith package before because I always wanted to make Toad, and it's a lot of room to make in the extra deck, but now the extra deck is a little bit more open, so it definitely could be really cool to see what the deck can do now. Riw. So, with Riw, I feel like any kind of variant is going to be like okay still, right? The 1 detonator is rough. And in a deck that does need consistency because you can still open no names, it's kind of tough when you're trying to play it pure. And I really don't think that pure is ever going to be viable again by itself, especially with 1 detonator. 1 unicorn or 1 Mellotronus, your tournament run's over. It's really rough and you need a backup to do anything in the deck. So definitely putting it at 1.5 for just pure, because I feel like pure is just like the absolute worst way to play it. But you also have the Fiend Smith variant, which is weird now because if you don't open a name and you have to Tachyon for a name, then you can't do any Fiend Smith things if you don't hard open Fiend Smith. You can't go like Tachyon into Ice and a Fiend Smith anymore. You have to just do your normal combo and then try to go for Fiend Smith later. So you can still hard open Fiend Smith with your other cards and like still play them together. It's a little bit more awkward now because there's only 1 bonfire and 2 of each name. So with that being said, it's definitely going to be the better variant, but it's going to be a lot more unfortunate to play at times. The best variant of Riw, in my opinion, right now is Mitsurugi. Mitsurugi got off scot-free, especially with 1 Druid Swarm No Dweller, kind of insane. 1 Dimension Shifter, kind of insane. Droll is still a problem for sure, but Mitsurugi is looking better than ever. So, you know, that's going to be Triff's home run right there. But definitely a very strong deck. If that's something that you want to look into and pick up, definitely go ahead and do so. X going to 2, it's going to suck in 1 bonfire just because, like, you want to do other things, right? But I don't really feel like that ever really mattered. So I definitely like Mitsurugi right now. I think it's going to be one of the best decks in the room and something that you definitely have to respect moving forward. All right, so the next one up here is going to be Malice. So let's talk about some Malice variants. Pure. Now, this tier list is going to be more slated for Alan because that's the next event that we're really worried about right now. We have YCS Rhode Island coming up, which is going to be very fun. I'm definitely really happy about it. And Malice is just going to be the best deck in the room. Hands down, Agnister Malice with the new Malice cards, going to be absurd. Like, it's going to be so good. And Pure Malice is definitely going to be the best deck in the room, 100%. It's going to be, like, the best deck is Malice, the second best deck is, like, Mitsurugi Riw. As far as, like, the Fiend Smith Malice or, like, Mathmech Malice, I think, like, the Fiend Smith variant of Malice is going to be, like, 1.5, and the Mathmech variant is going to be, like, 2. It might be Rogue. I think this is kind of cope. I think somebody might top with it, maybe. I like the Agnister Mathmech variant we saw before, but it was, like, 60 cards. I don't think that this is going to be, like, insane, but maybe it could. Maybe it could. I definitely don't think that those cards are going to be that necessary, though. I could see, like, a really small Mathmech package, like, so small, just to try to use them as, like, extenders. But even then, I don't really think that we'll see a whole lot of it. Because, like, if you open your Malice cards before your Mathmech cards, and you can't make things like Alan Bershin because you're link locked, if you go ahead and use them for the banish zone. So it's going to be a little awkward, but I'm definitely interested to see if anyone experiments with it. Next one up here is going to be Tenpai. It's just going to be tier 2. I mean, it's Tenpai. Y'all know what it does. I know what it does. It can just outright kill you out of nowhere, or it just auto-loses to itself. It's in tier 2. It's what the decks do. Now, one of the best decks in the room. So, like, you can kind of just put Fiend Smith, Ryzeal wherever you want as far as like 1.5 or 1. It's definitely still going to be like up toward 1 though. But I definitely think that out of the 3 best decks in the room, we're going to have Malice is number 1, Mitsurugi number 2, and Fiend Smith Cash is number 3. I think this deck is so well positioned in the format. Fiend Smith now outgrinds Ryzeal, and 1 Unicorn just kills Ryzeal immediately. So for me, I definitely think this deck is going to be very well positioned in the room. 110%, I think this is going to be extremely effective. So definitely a deck that you can go ahead and pick up now, but be cautious because we did get told to enjoy the format for the next 2 months, which means that we're probably going to get Banlist before Nationals. So be careful if you go to pick up the Fiend Smith cards. If you want to pick them up for Rhode Island, definitely go ahead and borrow them from a friend, right? You know, just the good old Konami slogan. But at the same point, maybe it won't get hit that bad, but I feel like Engraver is about to get punched in the mouth on the ban list to the next one. So we'll see, but I mean, be careful with what you buy right now because we did get a massive hint there probably is going to be another ban list before Nationals. The next one here, I would say like up toward the top of tier 2. I think the Unchained, I don't know, it's going to be really strong. It'd probably be Blue Eyes right before that. But Blue Eyes is in a really good position. It has topped a good amount, at least at regionals. But, like, I don't really see Blue Eyes ever being more than, like, a regional deck. Yeah, it could, like, reach top cut at a YCS, but I don't see it ever winning a YCS, not even coming close to winning a YCS. So it's, like, top of tier 2. I know people are going to be like, oh, but my Blue Eyes deck. Like, all right, listen here, Kaiba. Like, it's not that good. It's not that good. It's like okay, but it is not that good. I think the deck itself is like super linear and has like 2 harder choke points compared to like the other decks in the format right now. Like if you, as a player in the game right now, if somebody handed you a Blue Eyes deck and they handed you a Ryzeal deck and they were like, go to a tournament with one of these, right? Like, what are you picking? You know? So, in my opinion, it's just like, I can't put this any higher than tier 2. Branded, I'm going to throw it in Rogue. I do like Branded right now in the format. I think it's really good into Ryzeal. No Dweller, 1 Shifter, 1 Druid. I think it's in a way better position than it ever has been. And you definitely, in the right hands, could do really well with the deck. Because I think that it's really unexpected right now, and it's something that could do really well. Same with Voiceless Voice. I think it could be in tier 2, but like we haven't seen it in a while, so we'll have to see. But right now, I think this is another deck that is just like really well positioned in the format. A lot of room for non-engine as well, so if you do want to play with those Ulti Slayers and Metaltronices, just go ahead and get rid of things like Detonator, you definitely can. But I feel like this deck still falters really bad to things like White Binder, so it's a little unfortunate, but definitely a deck to look out for. Next up here is going to be Chron. So Chron is going to be probably bottom of 1.5. I think a lot of people are like, well, this deck is like bottom of tier 2 and it's not very good. I think Chron's pretty solid. Like, if you're playing against someone who really knows what they're doing with the deck, the grind game is kind of insane, and you have to cut them off early, and even if you do and they have the extender, it just feels bad. So this is a deck that is going to get away with more things right now because 1D Shifter, and, you know, that's going to be definitely interesting because Landseal still hurts the deck to a point, but at the same time, I feel like this deck is going to be, again, just in a well position for the format to be able to do pretty well. Now, for my top 5, again, I hate putting like the same deck down when it could just be Ryzeal, but they are different variants of the same deck. But I will throw Momento up here too, and this is probably like your top 4 decks right now. And then you kind of can like sub any of these in for the 5th one. I'd still probably say Ryzeal Fiend Smith though for the 5th one. But definitely Momento, I think, is a really solid deck right now. Not just because it won the YCS, but because this is always going to be a dark horse in the format that's going to do really well, especially in the right hands. The Goblin Biker variant that won the YCS was a really good meta call, but I do think that the deck is going to be, again, and I say this 100 times, very well positioned because no Shifter realistically, right? No Dweller, 1 Druid Worm. Not having to worry about those things is really strong. So with Mathmech coming into the room, Momento getting a lot more popular, these are things that are screaming to me to just play Bell in the main deck, right? And then also like Mitsurugi being a problem, Malice, really looking like a Bell format. And, you know, you're going to have to decide that on your own, but it's even really good against cards like the Fiend Smith. So definitely consider that, because I feel like that's going to be a really phenomenal hand trap moving forward. The next one up here is going to be Fire King. With the 2 Ash and 2 Poplar, I don't know if they actually get played in the deck, because the deck didn't really play them now. But at the same time, I think that as a solid tier 2 deck, you can get away with a lot with this, especially because it's really good in Ariziel too, because again, you don't really care. Your cards are getting popped. Sick. That's what we want, right? So definitely very cool, and it's a deck that I feel like is interesting, and if you want to play it and you really practice, you could do pretty well. A lot of people are going to just, like, roll their eyes at this, but, like, no Bahamut. The deck might still do things, and I've said this before, you can still play Swap Frog and have, like, the Ice Barrier cards to get into Toad, which is cool, but it is more bricks for the deck, and it's something that I don't necessarily know that it's going to be great for the deck, but it makes Coelacanth really weird, because you're already so limited on what you can go into, so not having Bahamut now is even more weird, and the extra deck is just empty. So I would love to see if there's like some variant that's going to make something cool, but for now, I'm just throwing this back in Rogue, because it was moving its way up, but that was actually like a massive hit. And I know I hate that hit because of Tearlament, and I love Bahamut Shark, but it's the same thing as like Sharks. Like, Sharks got backhanded. Like, that was so crazy. They're like, here's 7th Tachyon, have fun. They're like, by the way, no Bahamut though. And everyone's like, whoa, like, what happened here? You know, like, that's crazy. And then the last one here at the top of Rogue is going to be Ritual Beast. Again, this is a deck like Yubel that just gets absolutely destroyed by any Charmy. So definitely very unfortunate, and that's what's pushed the deck completely out of the meta, alongside everyone siding Chaos Hunter and Lancia. So it's like near impossible to play that deck right now until Malice is hit and people forget about Lancia, then people play Ritual Beast again. But like also the Shifter hit, they lose a huge edge for the deck. So definitely very interesting. Definitely let me know down below in the comment section what you think, and have a great night.